You already know what it is, man. It's your guy C-Grimey 423 representer, and I'm getting verified with Cornell the Shooter on C&P-Network. Make sure you hit the like button and make sure you subscribe so you can get the notifications every time a new episode drop. You already know what it is.
What's happening? What's happening? Back again for another episode of Verified with Cornell the Shooter on the C&P-Network. Before we get started, I need everybody to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, the like button, and hit that little bell so you'll be notified with new episodes. All right, let's get down to business. It's an honor and a privilege to present my guest, none other than C-Grimey. Big bro, what's happening?
What's up, man? Peace and black power to the people, man. What's cracking?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, it's been a long time coming, bro.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me, man. It's an honor, and I appreciate what you've been doing for the culture. I'm loving the movement, man, and I'm excited to see its growth, man. Keep doing your thing. You got a real winner with this, man. So keep it going. I can.
Yeah, bro. It's all you, bro.
All right, we
Yeah,
all
you get verified, bro. It's all you.
verified. All right,
But nah, bro, I appreciate that, man. For real.
for sure.
Especially coming from somebody like yourself. You know, you've been out here in the Chattanooga streets for a minute. You know what I mean? The name carries weight. And to match that, you also do similar to what I do.
Yeah,
But you've been doing it a lot longer, so you've experienced more than I have. So for you to say that, man, that hits home for me, bro, and I truly appreciate that.
yeah, man. Flowers, man. Give your people your flowers while they're here, man. Pat them on the back and encourage them while you can.
I most definitely agree. You know, one of many reasons for this platform is that in itself. You know, there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talent in the United States, you know, but it hits a whole lot closer to home when it's right here in Chattanooga.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. We got a huge pool of talent, man, when it comes to the arts, entertainment. We got some brilliant people that are here, man, in all kind of different fields.
I agree. So, bro, what I like to do is I like to get everybody adjusted to who you are. This is your first time on the
For
platform.
sure.
And after that, I'm gonna hit you with the hard-hitting questions. That cool?
Yeah, man.
Where exactly are you from, bro?
Man, I was born in Clarksville, Tennessee. Moved around with my pops and my moms. We moved here when I was in grade school. I'm a Chattown representative, man. This is where I was raised. Um, we lived all around the city, man. Red Bank, East Chat. As an adult, I really lived all around the city, man. I done had an apartment in every corner of the city. But yeah, man, I'm Tennessee native, man. I'm from right here, East Tennessee, man, for sure.
Dig it. About what age would you say y'all moved here to Chattanooga?
This had to be 11, 12, something like that.
Okay. So what was it like growing up here in Chattanooga?
Man, it was totally different. I'm gonna date myself, but 12 years old, that's the early 2000s. And so, yeah, man, it was a lot different, man. Uh, any city, inner city was a lot different,
Of course.
in the early 2000s, but a lot more segregated than it is today. A lot less opportunities than it is today. A lot less infrastructure than it is today. Um, for one reason or another, Chattanooga took off with the infrastructure. But it was totally different back then. But it's a great place, man, to grow up. I feel like I got a decent education in Hamilton County schools because it was a lot of teachers that really were into their job and with the students. Neighborhood, man, although some of the neighborhoods in Chattanooga at that time were considered dangerous, South Chat, East Chat, West Side. Um, Me personally, man, I can be in the trenches anywhere, man, and I don't never really feel like I'm in danger. But it definitely was way more dangerous than it is now, for sure.
So you say growing up Chattanooga compared to now, was a lot more dangerous than it is now?
A lot more dangerous, man. The dope boys was really out here, really getting it, and it was violence with people trying to jack people, dope boys fighting over territory, drug deals gone bad, people trying to set up people. The gang violence was way more rampant back then, late 90s, early 2000s. Rival gangs, different sets, different sides of the city. Um, I mean, way more violent, in my opinion.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So you said your parents and yourself, y'all moved around a lot. So I'm assuming you came from a 2-parent home.
No, actually, well, yes and no. My parents were like many young black parents. They was being fast and fooling around in high school and conceived me while they were still. Uh, my mom was a junior, my pops was a senior, and they were never married. My pops graduated, went on to the military. My mom held it down, was pregnant with me while she was in high school, had me uh, the year she was going into her senior year, that September. Still made it through. Rumor has it, according to her, I don't know how true this is. You know how when black folk be telling the tales, but rumor has it back in the day, I was allowed to go to school with her, and the teachers was cool with it, help her graduate. Uh, so they was young. I was back and forth with them, and they eventually did find partners and marry. So like when I was with my pops 2-parent home, with my mom 2-parent home.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah,
So current day, how's your relationship with your parents?
man, I love my man. Shout out my OGs, man. I'm not too much of a religious man, but many teachings will tell you to honor your mother and your father, especially if they sacrificed to raise you.
Right.
Oh man, yo, yeah, love my parents. My mom, she's still in the chat, man. She's doing her thing. She's a long time employee of one of the insurance companies out here. My pops, he's like I said, retired military man. He's getting money out in South Carolina right now. Yeah, man, I love my parents. They did young parents, man. They did a great job. They did what they could do, and I'm proud of them. They taught me a lot of things. Shout out to my pops. Black men, make sure you are in your children's life and whatever aspect you can be to help raise them. He taught me about being a man, and that was important.
It is. I
For
agree.
sure.
So how many siblings do you have, bro?
Yeah, like 9, 10. Let's see what 3 on my mama's side, 4 on my pop's side, so 7. And uh my 3 other step brothers and sisters, so 10, yeah, 10.
Oh wow.
Yeah, man, and I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest out of all of them.
I'm the oldest out of all of them, man. I'm the OG.
Man, that's what's up, bro.
Yeah, man.
That's what's up. What high school did you go to?
Red Bank. Go Lions. Go Lions.
Okay, that's
Yes,
what's up.
sir. Yes, sir.
Did you graduate?
Actually, no, man. So my senior year, man, I got kicked out of Red Bank. I got caught selling weed to teachers and lunch ladies and
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
yeah,
Uh,
man.
I've heard it been normal activity to, to distribute in school, but it's normally done amongst the students. So you
Yeah.
were distributing to
Yeah, man. I had the real clientele, man.
you had the ones with money.
I had the ones with the real money, with a paycheck coming in, and you know what? It was no fault of my own or any of my customers that I was apprehended and discovered.
Right.
Uh, uh, Somebody was stealing from the lunch room,
Okay.
came to my locker trying to swap. out. I'm like, nah, get on with all that hot, man. So they getting investigated. You know, they come to my locker, and I had a little cigar on me, you know, to roll up after school. Now, mind you, I got the Stinash on me. You know what I mean? What's the statute of limitation? This is all, it's all over with, so I can say this.
Right.
I had the Stinash on me, right? I'm in PE. Shout out Ursula. She is a Carter bus driver now. She's an OG. Much love to her. I'm in PE. She came to me and she was like, yo, I don't know what's going on, but they searching your locker. So I say, oh, you know what I mean? I got the Stinash in my sock. I go stash it in the basketball coach's locker room. I hid it up under his chair.
Right.
Man, I go to change, you know, at a PE, man. They yoked me up, man. And they found a little roach on me and some cigars. So they say, so I got put out of Red Bank, man, before I could get my degree. But and even though I got put out, man, I got the Stinash up out of there, man, and we still made it do what it do. Yeah. You know what I mean? That all they got me with was with a roach and a cigar.
Right.
But you know, that was really depressing, man. I really, as I got older and matured as a teenager, I found a love for academia. So I fucked with school, and you know what I mean. So I was in a depressed state, and moms was like, "Yo, you got to do something, man. Get off your ass. You got to do something." So at the age of 17, I was able to get my GED and enroll in the Chat State, go Tigers. And then I turned in from getting kicked out of high school to youngest dude or one of the youngest dudes on Chat State campus and pursuing my college degree.
Okay.
So, you know, you don't let, you know, a bump in the road deter you from keep going, you know what I'm saying? Although times can look real dire, you know what I mean? We got to keep pushing.
I do agree. I do agree. So did you finish at Chat State?
Yeah, man. Shout out Chat State. I got my associate's degree from Chat State. And yeah, I got a couple certificates in business management, some IT certifications, uh, so on and so forth. And maybe one day I'll pursue a bachelor's and a master's degree.
Never say never.
Never say never. And hey, again, my alma mater, shout out Chat State. They got a program. If you're from the city and you graduate, you can go to college for free.
Look at you, bro. You always working.
Always working.
You always working, bro.
Oh, it's always a resource out there for my people.
Hey, bro. I dig that, bro. I dig that. You're a community activist.
Yeah, man. If some people would say.
What would you say?
I would say I'm a black man that wants to be the change that I want to see. I'm being the change that I want to see.
Okay. Okay. But in other eyes, they would label it as a community activist.
Yeah, man. You know, back in the day, sometimes your last name would be the job that you had, so they gotta label you as something. Like people that you see his name, blacksmith. That's because their OG was a blacksmith. That's why that's their last name. So
Carpenter.
Carpenter. That was because, you know. So they always gonna label you something. You know what I mean? But I'm one that don't put me in a box. You know, just.
Well, for sake of this interview,
No, I am an activist,
yes,
man.
yes,
I am
but
an
no, that
activist.
right there was this is gonna be good.
Let's go. Yeah, you know.
At what age? At what? Better question. In your opinion, what makes a person a community activist?
That's a loaded question, but I'll say one of the most important thing that makes you a community activist, not just an activist, a community activist, is that you listen to the community, that you have empathy for the community, and not just who benefits you or who's in your direct, you know, interaction, but the community. You listen and you act for what's for the betterment of the whole community. That's what makes a community activist.
Boom. At what age did you get involved in activism?
I would say, as an adult in my early 20s, I was just noticing that a lot of my homies was dying from violence or drug overdose or something to that nature, or going to jail for a long time, or struggling to survive out here. And I was like, yo, it's gotta be something better. And so I was trying to figure out where could I best help my community elevate. Um, and I thought it would be, I'm an artist by trade, if you will. And so I thought the best way would, I feel like art, rapping saved my life, being creative saved my life. Instead of doing other shit, I was trying to be in the studio and do
Gotcha.
that stuff.
Gotcha.
And art is what it's the timestamp of the era that we in. You look at when you think about different times in our generation, we think about the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. We think about art, we think about music, movies, uh, visual art. And that is the one, in my opinion, art is one of the greatest thing about being a human, man. Creating creativity that people can therapeutically enjoy. So I felt like giving Black kids the access to all of the arts could be a help, and helping our brothers and sisters reacclimating with society when they, re-enter after doing a bid could be a help. And, if you know better, you do better. So I figured helping with education could be a help. And so to answer your question, early 20s, man, I started saying, what can I do?
So, what did you do to establish yourself as an activist? Because I feel like it's one thing to be like, okay, yeah, I'm here, I'm for the people. But what did you do to establish yourself?
You start moving your feet, man. You start doing something. So to be for the community, like I said, all you got to do is listen. So if you live in a neighborhood and there's an old lady who husband done passed away and her children don't live in the community, and she need her grass cut her grass.
Right.
If the people are saying, hey, we need a hospital, a grocery store, a fire station in our neighborhood, organize around that what the community can do, and then go advocate to the municipalities that can make that happen. So just listening to the community, and then taking tangible steps to organize of what we can get done to make our communities a better place.
Gotcha. Gotcha. What would you say some of the sacrifices uh, one would make in order to be a successful community activist?
The biggest sacrifice you got to make is time, man. Which is one of the sacrifices we all need to make if we're not just going to talk about making our community better, but actually do it. Time, and to be honest, it doesn't take hella a lot of time to be that change. But if you want to be a quote unquote successful community activist, it takes a lot of time. Organizing and getting shit together takes a lot of fucking time. You yourself, who has a platform and a business, know it takes a lot of time. So then this is time that you're taking that more than likely you're not going to get paid for. More than likely you're going to take a lot of the workload. And you still got to deal with stuff like backlash from people who are just absolute haters, backlash from people who are inward and don't think you're doing it the right way. Uh, so yeah, man, time and effort is the biggest sacrifice you're gonna have being a successful community activist.
I dig it. I dig it. Um, in early 2020,
Mm-hmm.
along with Marie Mott, the two of you organized and led the BLM protest here in Chattanooga. How did that come about, and how did your roles get established?
Man, first of all, it's wild that that moment nationally and here hyper locally, man, it's just become a huge staple in town. They're gonna talk about that in history
Yeah,
for a long time. It's already in Bessie Smith African American Cultural Center downtown. They got an exhibit that mentions the protest that we did right now. But it's crazy how that came about. It was what's that? June, late June, early June, late May, early June,
really
2020.
late May.
Late May,
Mm-hmm.
early June. People stuck in the house. The George Floyd video comes out. Of course, no matter COVID or not, you'd be appalled. But this is a time where we were in the house, limited extracurricular activities, limited distractions, and people couldn't do anything but digest it. So, it blew up across the world, you know what I mean? I being a community activist, you see so many instances like this. I mean, we've had dozens of people in the last decade murdered by police right here in Chattanooga. You see so much, those events are triggering. No cap, I didn't even watch the video for days. People kept sending it to me. You kept seeing news reports. I would cut it off. I was like, look, I know I read reports and knew what was going on, but the video I just knew was so triggering. I didn't want to watch it.
Gotcha.
I finally watched it. Of course, it made me feel like it made everybody else feel. There was some local protests, local demonstrations going on, if you will, people gathering. And shout out the young people. The young people are the future, and when they get it together, that's what's gonna make the real change. But they were pissed off. They organized a small demonstration that was met with the young people organized a small demonstration. I bust up to show support. It was met with law enforcement, opposition, I mean sheriffs, police with shotguns, with the beanbag pellets, tear gas and shit. And so at the Hamilton County Courthouse, one of these weak jumpy ass police sheriffs, he get jumpy cause somebody protesting and yelling on the bullhorn. He done hit somebody with the beanbag, tossed them up, tear gas, people going crazy. And I'm talking about this was a peaceful protest where it was babies and strollers and white women
Right.
and I mean that happened. It went crazy. People were angry to the point where people more angrily protest. They still peacefully protest, but more angrily with their demonstration and their voice protested throughout the night. And I got a call that next morning. And they were like, "Yo, C-Grimey, we finna burn some down." Crazy. Somebody that you interviewed on your platform was one of the young people that were organizing, and they was like, "I'm not gonna say no names because I don't know statute of limitation on this,"
Right.
but they was like, "We finna burn some down, C-Grimey," and I was like, "Hold up, whoa, 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 whoa." Now that's gonna really get the police out here and get us f***ed up. So I said, let's organize this way where we make our point. We have leverage to get some stuff done in litigation, maybe later on down the line, and nobody goes to jail or gets shot. And
Because they ain't gonna hear you from jail.
yeah, exactly. We don't need no more dead bodies, and we don't need no more people locked up unless they're locked up for simply peaceful protesting, and then we can.
Right. But big picture wise, they ain't gonna hear you from jail. They sure can't hear you from the
So
graveyard.
myself and Marie Mott, along with a lot of elder activists that been doing this since the 50s, 60s. That's the biggest thing about this. We had a lot of those elders behind the scenes that gave us the blessing to be out front to organize, and give us guidance, give us wisdom and suggestions, and just having that love for Black people, seeing, having that want to spark that conversation of the change that we need, and seeing uh, a need, an obligation. Because if we wouldn't have took on that task, would nobody else done it, and we got a lot of tangible shit done from the labor of those protests.
Right, right. But with that role, uh, you was given a lot of attention and responsibility.
For sure.
Um, how did that role affect your personal life?
Oh man, yeah. When you're out front like that and you're talking about issues that are affecting the community and why things need to change because of those issues, you get a lot of people telling you their personal stories of what happened to them, looking for advice, looking for help. Um, and I don't know how therapists do it, but when people just bringing you their load to you, asking for guidance and direction, that can get heavy. Um, so that was one thing, man, on my mental. Then, this is crazy, man. Them MAGA, I got what they call it, doxed, when they found out my information, my phone number, my address and shit, my email, put it all on the internet. Them crazy QAnon MAGA was uh uh spamming my Instagram, my Facebook, my Twitter, and threatening me and shit. Uh that was, I mean, to the point where my boy, couple nights, he sat out on my porch with a shotgun, man. Shout out my homie Dakin, man. Uh yeah, and helped me put up security cameras, and so that was taxing. And I mean, and, my baby girl was in the house, yeah. And it was wildly taxing. I can only imagine what some of the ancestors went through.
As you saying that, is exactly what came to mind.
Go ahead.
That's exactly what came to
Yeah,
mind. Just I don't know to how long or what extent you had to live that way,
yeah.
but our ancestors lived that way for
And
eons.
with going through that and being a face for protest, for justice, I can only imagine what people like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Fred Hampton went through, to the point where they straight up assassinated them. Uh, for sure,
Yeah, that's wild.
it is.
Um, yeah, that's wild. Uh, though the protests remained nonviolent, uh, I'm sure it was a task to keep that peace and keep it that way. What did you and Marie Mott do to establish that this is going to be nonviolent, but we're still here for a cause? What did y'all do?
Man, we knew living in the deep South, man. Living in let's be frank, Chattanooga is still a good old boy town. Just as black as Atlanta is, it's still a good old boy town. Them is still running things. Don't you get it, motherfucker? We in the deep South. And I knew if we started burning this down, they was gonna, I mean, they brought out the National Guard, state police. I knew, them white boys was ready to have an excuse to get their Kyle Rittenhouse on. So, um, first of all, protest does not, a good protest that you can leverage and get some done behind the scenes, never happens without organization. So we got people together and we had a safety team, people that were looking out, that were scrapped, that was security. We had safety.
Gotcha.
We had a safety team that were liaisons to talk to 12 if need be.
Gotcha.
We had medics. Uh, we had communications people who were letting people know, hey, look, these are the guidelines we would like you to follow during this protest. And look, sometimes some radicalness is needed, man, and you need to burn some shit down. That just wasn't the time for it. And um it was a task, man, because emotions is running high. People, the descendants of our ancestors that have been dealing with oppression for since they've been born, along with the 500 years before that. I mean, they wanted to let loose. They, like I said, my involvement was because the youngest wanted to down. So it was a task.
I bet. I bet. The protest came with a list of demands.
Yes.
Who put together that list?
Myself, Marie Mott, um, groups like uh, CCJ, Concerned Citizens for Justice, the elders like Brother Muhammad with the Brothers of Islam, the Muslim Brothers, the 10,000 fearless brothers and sisters, people like Pastor Charlotte Williams, elders like Ann Pierre, um, people that have been Mama T, people that have been organizing from way before I was born, but really with a guidance of the new generation like myself and Marie Watt, what we need right now and what's tangible right now.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Do you remember what all the demands were?
Hell no, do you? You got them down? Uh, I don't. And blame my head, not my heart,
No,
because
it's all
they
good.
written down somewhere. But uh, divest, invest. It was sexy to say defund the police, defund this and that.
A lot comes with that.
But people maybe in the middle or who don't understand just defund the whole police, that think old ladies that think, if somebody come in my yard, I might need the police. They don't understand defund the police. So divest, invest, take a little bit away from these egregious police budgets and invest in stuff like education, mental health, prevention, and emergency care, child care, job training, things that prevent crime.
Okay.
If you take away from these hefty police budgets that are outrageous for shit that they don't need, it's like, y'all ain't shooting every day. Why we buying y'all the same amount of bullets every day?
Okay.
Don't get old. You can set them there for a couple years. We don't need to give the police the same amount of money every. I understand salaries, vehicle costs, whoop 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 whoop, training, all of that. But if you look line by line on what these law enforcement agencies ask for, it's outrageous. Robots and bomb sniffing robots and. When the last time? When is the last time any of those bomb detecting or police agencies defused the bomb? Do you know?
I don't.
Zero. Never. They've never. All of these bomb squads, they've never defused the bomb. If it's a bomb, it's gonna blow up. Get away.
Fair.
Get away. We don't need robots for that. Get away. Uh, Helicopters and shit and extra vehicles. That money can go into things like rec centers, like teacher salaries, like after school programs. So youngins is doing something positive and not in the streets. The things that not only deter crime on the front end, but for generations to come. But they don't want to do that. They just want to keep getting these fat pensions. And you notice when somebody with a gleam in their eye tries to come in. Well, I know we're probably gonna talk about police later, so I ain't gonna. Another demand was stop private prisons in Chattown. So anybody that's a OG and been to jail knows Silverdale used to be CCA, Core Civic, whatever, and they was a company that kind of contracted the work for Silverdale, so it was incentivized for it to keep full so they can make their money that they got to get not only to run the jail and for themselves, but for the people that invest in their private company. So we wanted the jail to be back in the people's hand where the county is taking care of it, so it'd be incentivized to keep it empty.
So prior to that, the county jail was private owned.
Prior to that, the county jail was owned by CCA, Core Civic, something. Fact check me on their name, but CCA, and they were.
But it wasn't being overseen by the county. It was being overseen by a private entity or a company.
It was being overseen and policy ran by a private entity with the county workers in there. So the sheriff
Gotcha.
department is the COs,
Gotcha.
but it's owned by they was employees of
The
the
main decision maker was not a post certified uh, officer of the law.
exactly, exactly. So when you make jail business,
Right.
it's big business to keep the jail full.
I agree. I agree.
So we wanted them to, and they were proposing a 99-year contract
Mm. This was prior to the protest, or
prior to the protest.
okay.
So we organized around that to get that blocked. And so now the the county owns it. And so the people, you can go to your sheriff, you can go to your county commissioner and say, I'm sick of the jail being this full. This is what we need to do. These are the programs we need in the jail. These are the things we need to do and don't do in the jail. And we need to deter crime. Another one of the demands was put in city police, put it in the police policy for it'd be mandatory to do a warning shot before you fatally shoot someone. And so we got that accomplished. Chief Rowdy was the chief at the time. Myself, Eric Atkins, Marie Mott, we wrote the language um, to and negotiated with law enforcement to have that in their police policy that they must do a warning shot before they use deadly force. You know, a list, a host of other demands similar to the demands of the Black Panther Party and our ancestors who came before us. Man, you know, we just want equality and justice for Black people.
Dig it. Let me play devil's advocate for a second.
For sure.
Okay. Which what I say is hearsay. Okay. So you can't just gonna play devil's advocate. Uh, the warning shot
Uh huh.
what's the logistics of that?
Good question. I have to go back and look at the policy. Oh, and but basically, a shot in the air or in the ground.
Okay, does that cover when there's physical threat, or is that
So the language is, and that's, you know, language can be,
cloudy?
so unless they're not in immediate fatal danger.
Okay.
And I had to go back to the language, you know, but yeah, it's in there. Oh, and another demand was the duty to intervene. Get that into the policy. So if an officer sees another officer doing something, they're just as responsible if they don't intervene and break up the fuck shit.
Mm, okay. Dig it. So out of the policies, I'm sorry, the demands, uh, how many of those are all the ones you just named, were all those met,
Uh,
or was
the only one that I named that wasn't met was the divest. Even though that we got the head administration and law enforcement to agree that if things that they currently do were taken off their workload, they would be they would agree to a divestment in funds. So per se, like if an officer solely is not responsible for a mental health check or something like that, then they would divest those funds. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But that take, and this is why voting in government is important, because that then takes it goes to city council, and you got to get them to vote on it, and we couldn't get everybody on city council on one page. And with the city council, I mean, it's yeah.
Gotcha. Was that the first protest you ever been a part of?
Oh no, man, I've been man, I was in 2012. Um, I was so moved by the unrest in Ferguson uh, because of Mike Brown that I had to go out there and be a part of that.
Okay. So
Uh,
you went to Ferguson.
yeah.
Okay.
Uh, and it got to organize, hear from some great organizers. But and then countless protests before that here in the city and surrounding areas. Yeah, man.
Do you have or have you had any prior or current interest in running in any type of political office in Chattanooga?
Not really, cause man, I been to slap somebody talking on that, and uh, being not only being rude to you, but being rude to your family. Bringing up personal business, making fun of uh sensitive personal situations ain't cool, man. Stick to the facts, man. Stick to the people that's running. I don't like that. And I don't think I've come to enough of a mature state not to fire one of us up, get on, man. They start talking that. So maybe about 5 years, 10 years, I might run for office. But I do encourage people to that I'll help organize a campaign and help people with policy. But me being the person, not yet.
Okay. Hey, that's honest. That's honest. At one point in time, you worked at the Chattanooga Public Library, in downtown Chattanooga.
For sure.
Uh, what exactly was your role there?
I was a librarian. I was a fourth floor co-manager with my boy Mike up there, and we ran the maker space of the fourth floor, which is like an innovative space for creatives, entrepreneurs, learners to come use, man. 3D printing, vinyl printing, virtual reality, uh, clothing making machines, screen printing, sewing machines, photo studio, podcast studio, beat making lab, uh, laser printing, woodworking, uh, uh, coding, just all kind of different creative, man, and putting programs and stuff together for learners, and also being a traditional librarian.
Man, that's what's up. I didn't know all that was.
As hey, fourth floor of the downtown Chat Library, man. It's a great resource. If you live in the city limits, man, you get a library card for free. And you can go use, and you can check out a plethora of books in the collection. Uh, that gives you access to audiobooks and shit online. They got a tool library, man, with a bunch of power tools, pressure washers, and shout out to my girl Meredith, who now runs the LA, or now works with the LA county libraries, man, who put a full functioning studio in a library. So you can get 3 free studio sessions in a state of the art studio, and they'll teach you how to drop yourself, mix and master for free. If you live in the city limits, man, get your library card.
Always working. No, I love it, bro. I love it. A little off subject, but you worked in the library.
Yeah.
What's 3 books you recommend uh, a person of color to read?
3 books that I suggest a person of color to read.
Right.
The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. Where do we go from here? Is that the name of it? By Martin Luther King. Hold up. Yeah, where do we go from here by Martin Luther King? Uh, New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander, and yeah, I'm trying to look at my bookshelf over there. Anything by James Baldwin, anything by Coates. Uh, Between the World and Me by Coates.
Okay.
Read those 3 books. Those are just off the cuff. There's so many. There's hundreds that we need to read. Read The Art of War.
The Art of War.
The Art of War.
Okay.
Read that one. That's a great one. Every person that thinks that they're powerful, that thinks they're who the whoop, they've read that book. So read that book so you can know the mind of somebody who's thinking that way, even if that's not your bag.
That's that book. Yeah, that's that book. I've heard about that book so many times over. I actually, don't quote me on it, I believe Interstate Tax might have suggested it.
That's nephew.
If he didn't on camera, he might have suggested it off camera.
I wouldn't be surprised. That's nephew. I wouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised.
no, he's a reader. He's a reader. And that's what's up, bro. So unfortunately, in 2020, you was terminated for
Yeah.
burning books from the Chattanooga Library.
Yes.
What exactly happened?
Well, yes and no. I was terminated technically for stealing.
Oh,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
okay.
So what happened was, uh, it was during the pandemic. This is probably Octoberish, Novemberish. We start transitioning back to working at the library before patrons was coming in. So I was tasked with recirculating the collection, and because of my expertise in politics and civics, I was assigned the civics section, and I was told by definition, books that have misinformation or outdated or old may been proven to be wrong, get rid of those books, right? So there was a book written by Donald Trump that I said, okay, well, this is misinformation. We need to get rid of this in the collection. By procedure, I took it out of the collection, and I was told that if a book is taken out of collection after it's properly taken out, if you want to save it and restore it in your own way, you're allowed to do that. So I did that. And let's see, uh, it was a plethora of books, but they only mentioned this book because I had a ceremony of sorts on my Instagram where couple of the homies came and we twisted up some of that good za and started a fire, and we burnt a Trump book, and it was a what's that other white that told LeBron to shut up and dribble, her book too. I burned her book and Trump's book, and so some probably some MAGA Republican people seen it because it went a little viral. Yeah. So some people seen it, and they reported that to my supervisors at the library. It was an investigation that went over for 3 months, 4 months. Let's see, that happened in let's say October, November. I was officially fired in February, so that many months of litigation, court proceedings, uh, and God don't like ugly, man. Karma is a she a pretty though. The director who lied on me and was capping, She was subsequently fired right before her pension kicked in for her retirement.
Wow.
For lying.
Wow.
And mistreating people. So God don't like ugly, man. You know who you is. The former you looked at too, man. Don't I ain't capping, man. Everything I say is somewhere in the cloud, man. You can look up easily.
Okay. It's been documented that you appealed the termination. What happened with that?
Man, like I said, man, we went through months of litigation. It ultimately went in front of a judge who ultimately, yeah, man, the city attorneys was involved, administration of the library, my attorney. Shout out my lawyer Michael Holloway, man, one of the best to ever do it. Yeah, it was a thing, man. Luckily, shout out to the unions. If you're working somewhere, join the union or advocate that there is a union. While I was on administrative leave, I got paid up until I was fired, all because of union practices. So man, shout out to the union. But yeah, man, it's like knowing that you didn't do wrong, and them jumping through all these hoops to try to get you fired because they don't want to deal with a couple a couple of these rude Republicans, and the director of the library, she was a Republican, so she probably felt some type of way. The ops be working. But it was a blessing in disguise, man. I leveled up so much since then. So when 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 one door closes, man, the ancestors will open up another one or a window.
Now you said you leveled up since then. I'm just gonna. When I met you, you was staying in Eastlake. Uh, you know, all I'm gonna say is when I pulled in this neighborhood and I pulled in the driveway, I said, okay, I think bro gave me the wrong address. Now you
Yeah, when somebody they, instead of knocking on the door and ringing the doorbell, they call you and
you knew
say,
what, so when I
"I was like,
called you.
he thought
Yes,
it's like he
yes.
must be lost."
Now when I called you, I bet you felt the same. He's like, yeah, dude don't think I live here. But I would say, from then to now, you're extremely blessed, bro. Me personally, I'm proud of you to see where you came from to where you are now. Bro, you winning. Like you said, one door closes, another one opens, bro.
It's a blessing, man, and family first, man. Shout out to my
Most
family.
definitely.
Uh,
Most
my
definitely.
my beautiful woman and I. It's funny. We were fired by our jobs at the same time during the pandemic. We ain't know what we're gonna do, man. But
But look at you now.
God is good.
Hey man, I'm proud of you, bro. Um, the People's Podcast. You had many interesting guests on there.
Yeah.
One in particular that stood out to me the most would have to be the now Hamilton County District Attorney, Coty Wamp. In your interview with her, it was 6 days before she was to be elected
Yes.
as the District Attorney in Hamilton County.
Yes.
And she stated her number one goal would be fentanyl.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught it or not, but I recently interviewed T Montana.
Yeah.
In my interview, T Montana,
That's a great interview.
I appreciate it. And shout out to bro. But in my interview with T Montana, he stated that his case was being controlled politically.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't, I didn't know how to take that. I didn't know what he meant by that.
Yeah.
Though his case is not the norm, however, unfortunately, his son would OD from fentanyl.
Yeah.
And he would be charged with felony murder for that incident. I don't know if you're familiar with the case, but for what you do know, what's your thoughts and opinion on that?
I'm slightly familiar with the case. It's very sad. RIP to that young man. who lost his life. No, and to T Montana and uh his child's mother. No parent should bury their child. Uh, with that being said, respectfully, I come from the underworld myself. This is a wonderful polished version of C-Grimey y'all get to see. So I get it. But we had rules and codes for a reason, and certain things, no matter the context, there's always context matters in all situations.
Correct.
And I don't know the whole context. I will say that certain things should not go on at the family domain. You don't trap where you sleep, right? Ain't that what we say in the streets, man? You don't, and you keep the babies out the business, right? We got to be careful. We got to be most careful around our children, especially our young children. You know what I mean? I don't know all the specifics of the case. Um, I also I don't dig on them charging him with felony murder. That is, I think, political. Um, we've and definitely deals with racism. Ain't no telling. And let's be clear. When the kind of guests that you have on your show, you best believe the feds is gonna be watching. And to my entertainers and my creatives and content creators, they definitely these municipalities, these law enforcement agencies, they definitely watching. So if you have a persona of an entertainer who comes from a background of the streets, they're definitely going to be watching. They're going to dig into that, see what they can find out, and anytime they get you on some court proceedings, they're gonna use that against you. You see how they doing thugger thugger. Um, so again, I don't know the whole context of the case, but a
Right.
simple accident
Right.
mixed with how they want to attack us and our personas becomes a political case that they feel that they have ammo to. You know what I'm saying? So we got to be extra careful, especially around our little babies. Uh, Give me some context of what happened.
Uh,
How did the son pass?
from the best of my knowledge, there was some fentanyl present in the home.
Hmm.
Uh, Montana himself was asleep, uh, and the young man, the baby, gained access to the fentanyl from whatever means that they did. They gained access to the fentanyl, and I would assume they ate the fentanyl, uh,
Mm,
and they OD'd.
mm.
As far as like I said, my you seen my interview.
Yes.
I'm not in a position. I'm not in any legal position to ask, "Hey, bro, you do it." My purpose of that interview was solely for him to have a voice. Um,
Well, look. With that being said, there's got to be some level of self accountability, family accountability. But I don't dig on this felony murder shit, especially how they try to use it against us. And when I say us, black people and especially black men, there's a case. There's a young man who I had to look it up for names and specifics and states, but basically, him and his homie ran into some unoccupied houses, stealing video games, and the police shot one of the young men running away. And because the other young man was involved in the burglary, they charging him with felony murder.
wait a minute. Wait a minute. So the kid was killed by the police,
Yes.
and because there were two people involved, they're charging the other person with felony murder. What state is
Yes.
that in?
Let me look it up because yeah. So Lakeith Smith, Alabama, they charged this man with felony murder because the police shot his homeboy while they was running away from the police, trying not to get caught from a burglary, stealing video games. So stealing is bad. Kids stealing video games does, first of all, that doesn't deserve a kid getting shot. Secondly, how do you charge and then convict? I think he was 16 at the time, 15 or 16 at the time. Give him 30 years. 30 years instead of, and that's just because they don't want to hold none of them officers accountable.
So not only was he arrested, but he was charged and sentenced as of today?
Yes.
Oh wow. So he's serving 30 years now.
Serving 30 years now with there's efforts to get his sentence appealed.
Oh wow. Wow. Man. I can't even say I've heard of that.
There's also there's a case where a black man charged with felony murder sentenced, and in the same court, same day, a white man who was under the influence and was running from police and ran into a tree and killed his girlfriend in the passenger seat. He only did 3 years. So see, that's just
He didn't get felony murder though, did he?
he didn't get the felony murder. You just see the difference of law enforcement and sentencing when it comes to melanated skin.
Okay. Bro, what's your opinion on Charleston White?
Man, I don't like how he be I don't like the antics, man, and degrading black people, especially black women, um, especially black women who don't deserve it. You know, you can have an opinion on stuff and not degrade black women, uh, not be insensitive to black people just because nobody hates, even if you feel like your position on something is correct. And there's an example of when the correctness of your position is shown. Nobody hates anybody worse than I told you so. So I don't like that because you know, there is a violence problem here in America. That is evident, a gun violence problem. But trolling people, black people who have fell victim to gun violence, I don't think that's cool. Um, I don't dig on them. I don't dig on the whole antics. It feels like he says when he was an activist, he didn't get any attention by just um he said he didn't get any attention by just being a regular activist, and he got attention when he started talking. Um, so now that he has got the attention, can he cut off the talking and just talk regular? I don't know. I just I don't like the it seems very minstrel showish.
Mm, okay. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't even know what that word means you just said, but I'm gonna look it up. Okay. Have you not in the defense of Charleston White? I'll say I see your side and see what you're saying. Uh, and I also see his side as well because I feel like his antics is what did get him attention. But then I also, like I said, I see your side where it's like, okay, now that you're established, why continue to do it? Uh,
But what's the you can do antics, but stuff like saying stuff like being in a KKK outfit and shit, and saying this is the I bought this baton. This the baton that beat Rodney King. and I can't dig on that. That's like unnecessary.
I got you. I say, and I can empathize and sympathize with that. Your stance on it, because it's one to know history, but it's also one thing to know history and uh and be affected by it. So no, I dig that. I dig it. And
And just quick history lesson: a minstrel show is back in the day
okay,
when they wouldn't let black people be in entertainment or on TV, so they would have shows where they put the makeup on the black people and the black with the lips and shit, and they do the dancing around. That was a minstrel show. And then the blackface.
gotcha. Okay, so I did know what it was. Never heard it. Never. Gotcha. Okay, man. uh, in 2022, Black Lives Matter founders were accused of misusing and stealing donation money. Um, After that, what's your present day opinion on BLM?
So now you have to correct me if I'm wrong. They were accused. You said say that again. They were accused of say.
They were accused of misusing and stealing donated money.
So now read that again one more time.
I get what you're getting at.
They were accused by who?
I believe one of the actual founders stepped up and said that they was.
No, I believe them was like they didn't appreciate that this pro-black group got over $100 million or even more than that.
I think it was 400 million.
$400 million and was doing stuff that was really pro-black. So what people had a problem with is they said they bought a mansion out in LA.
Right.
So now look at I'm about to point out some hypocrisy here, right?
Okay.
Trump was just convicted of 34 felonies of fraud, right?
Correct.
And he's got that big house in Florida, Marcialago, right?
Correct.
How many of those MAGA Republicans are up in arms about that? You ain't heard no news reports about that, right? Misappropriating funds so he can have that. And he's got a golf course and all that type, right? Now we got a grassroots black organization that capitalized on a galvanizing moment to get donations to further the black agenda. And they were accused by who of misappropriating funds because they bought a mansion. They overpaid people that were close in the inner circle of the organization. So people were complaining that the founders, the father of the founder's daughter or child, son or daughter, they paid him six figures to do AV audio. They had a problem with that. They had a problem with the salaries of administration. They had a problem with the LA mansion. The LA mansion was used for when quote unquote high profile guests come through to headquarters, they go to the LA mansion, right? Now, think about this. Why would a black organization need a mansion and security when quote unquote high profile guests come visit them to talk strategy? Because all my heroes were assassinated. So I don't got no problem with motherfuckers that's out here advocating for black people in a positive manner, having a dope mansion in LA for when people that can help further that message, help fund the proceedings to get the message out and the avocation and the change that we want to see out be protected and comfortable. I don't have no problem with that.
Dig it. You said pro black.
Pro black.
What is pro black?
Pro black is the opposite of racism. It's understanding that Blacks are not a monolith. Blacks are not the stereotypes that are out there, that blacks deserve equality and justice, and that we want to elevate black people out of the grasp of oppression that we've been in for so long.
That's pro-black.
That's pro-black.
Boom. In your opinion, do black people and people of color have a modern day oppressor?
So I'm gonna leave out the people of color on this one. I'm a black man. I speak for black people. Uh, do black people in America, and I'm just American. I'm not African.
You're not African American.
Well, no. If you want to ask that question, I'll tell you what I identify as. But I'm saying I'm not a native African. I'm not a African African. I'm not a a European African. I'm not an Asian African. I'm an American African. I'm from. So I'm just saying I can speak directly. I can speak directly for my black people in America. We do have modern day oppressors. Um, Propaganda is real. Financial oppression is real. Education and nutrition and healthcare oppression is real. And these systems that we live by are ran by racist white men mostly, and white people mostly, and or racist other people, but mostly racist white people. So yes, black people in America specifically do have a modern day oppressor.
You said you're not an African American, you're American African?
Yes, I am a Native American. I was born an American, but I am of African descent. Think about this. They don't they don't say a Asian person that's born in America, they don't say they're an American Asian. They say they're Asian American
Right,
because their native land is Asia. Their lineage comes from Asia.
right.
My descendants come from Africa, but I'm native. I'm of America. I'm from the 1619 Project. They're my people. That's just how I feel.
Got you.
My people built this country. I'm an American of African descent. Now the African part is the important part. Uh, but I am an American.
Dig it. Um, in your opinion, you're an artist, uh your music can be found on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube.
Over 10 million streams and counting.
Over 10 million streams and counting. In your opinion, is rap music hurting or helping the black community?
That's a loaded question, a great one. Um, but black music is definitely helping the community. What's hurting the community is the music that sometimes we think about that is detrimental, that is pushed out by corporations that are ran by white men. Think about this. 99% of mass media, TV, streaming, DSPs, radio stations, movie companies, movie theaters, white owned. 1%, when you think about major film, you got 50 Cent, Tyler Perry, Oprah. That's about it. When you think about major music, we got more sub record labels than we have distributors.
Right.
When you think about TV, we got Revolt, we got O Network, we got very few mass media streaming TV platforms. When you think about radio stations, very few are black owned. Your oppressor is not going to give you the tools for liberation. Back in the 80s and 90s when we owned rap music, before we went big corporate, before they could manipulate and put their thumb over it and maneuver, think about what was hot. Public Enemy, Queen Latifah. Even as we got into gangster rap, Tupac, one of the most conscious rappers ever. Even when you got into, it was balance. You had just your gangster shit, but you had people, your DMXs, your balance. But when corporate America gets a hold of it, they're gonna water it down and promote negativity because your oppressors are not gonna give you the tools for liberation. You think white America, especially old guard white America, old rich white men want 10 Kendrick Lamars running around here speaking to the people? Imagine we got one that's doing amazing things. Imagine 10. 10 J. Cole's, 10 rap cities, or any of that caliber that you could. But those rappers, that messaging, and even some of the more unconventional names that you would think when you think about uplifting conscious hip hop, that music helps. You know what I'm saying? That ideology helps. You got to follow whenever you want to see who really making moves, follow the money.
Dig it. Devil's advocate.
Let's go.
Okay. There isn't 10 Kendrick Lamars.
Yes.
There isn't 10 J. Cole. Uh, there isn't 10 Commons, but you can walk in a room full of rappers. Let's say you walk in a room with 100 rappers. I'm willing to say 70 of them are King Vons, are Lil Durks. And no, I'm not taking anything from these artists. I listen to Lil Durk. Wasn't big on King Von, but I listen to Lil Durk. But if you listen to the lyrics and the people that and you look at the people that they influence, the Kendrick Lamar's, their influence they don't reach the levels that a King
I would
Von.
I would disagree. I would disagree with that. I think it's more. I think it's just as many Lil Durk's, Kendrick Lamar. Even you see shout out Lil Durk. You see evolution in Lil Durk. I appreciate artists like that. But just as many King Vons or drill rappers, there's just as many Kendricks, J. Cole's, Commons, Kanye's. There's just as many of those. But when okay, so you got a Future, a King Von, a Gucci type rapper,
Right.
and then you got a Kendrick, J. Cole, Common type rapper, and they pull up to Empire Records.
Right.
Empire gonna say,
Mm.
well, I could sell, I know I can market this, and this right now, whoop 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 whoop. You know what I'm saying? So it's really about those major opportunities that some are getting that some aren't. And it's about taking the culture back in our hands and choosing what we're gonna consume. Just because somebody said something's hot, you know what I'm saying? Just because it's on Complex Top 10, whoop to whoop whoop whoop, this blogger, that blogger, doesn't mean that's what we gotta consume. But everybody's so into being on what's trendy, what's whoop to whoop. We gotta start spreading love on the media that's gonna tell us what's feeding our souls.
So how do we do that? How do we transform consumers?
You doing it, man. Platforms. Take advantage of manipulating these platforms, man. C&P Network is doing it. You know what I mean? Putting content out there that is thought driven. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to all of the little bloggers and interviewers, but don't let them have a stronghold on the culture, especially when some people are not from the culture, like born and bred in it. You can choose to be in this culture, but are you dead ass from this culture? A lot of these people are not.
Well, you heard C-Grimey.
But yeah, man, how do we support grassroots media?
That's real. Real and much appreciated. And that goes for your platform as well. You know, so far, people, if you're watching and you listening and you enjoying the content that you are experiencing right now, his platform, this is every day on your platform. This is every day. And of course, at the
Appreciate that.
end, we'll give you the opportunity to let everybody know where they can find it.
For
But,
sure.
but yeah, this is every day over there on his platform, the People's Podcast. Is white privilege a thing?
White privilege is most definitely a thing, especially here in America. Think about this. 60 years ago. How old is your oldest living relative?
My oldest living relative. Hmm, that is a good question.
Guesstimate. You got any grannies living?
No. Well, yes. Actually, I do. They're younger. I say longest. I say oldest. Let's say 80 in the 80s, late 80s.
Late 80s?
Okay, early 80s.
Let's say 82?
That works. Let's do 82.
Okay. 82 years ago was 1942, right?
Okay, yes.
So you got a relative that's walking around right now that literally would have got their beat if they drank from certain water fountain or walked in a certain bathroom. Now that was when they was born. Now let's add 15 years to that. 1957, same shit. So they in high school, and if they go in the wrong bathroom, they liable to get their head cracked, right?
Right.
That's not that long ago, right? And so now think about the opposition, the people that said if this could go in this bathroom, you beat it. That behavior was taught to somebody, and somebody learned that behavior and probably kept loyal to that behavior and taught somebody else that is your daddy's age, and they probably taught that behavior to somebody that's your age, and they probably taught that behavior to somebody that's your baby's age. With that being said, that is the opposition that black people are against when it comes to racism.
Right.
White privilege, first of all, when you talk about white privilege, you got to talk about what it's not. And what is, because white people, when you say, well, white privilege, they get, "Ugh," because white people, first of all, they're not used to being identified by their race like black and brown people are. So the white part already, and then privilege, especially when you're talking about a white person who may grew up poor, or a rural American white person who grew up on a farm and whoop de whoop. They like, well, I didn't have a lot of money. White privilege does not come from monetary status. It comes from the privilege often not seen. Like if you get pulled over late night in a mostly white community, you're not gonna be looked at as abnormal for being there. You know, white privilege is that no matter your background, you can get a haircut, throw on a polo, walk into a bank with the right credentials, you might get a loan. It's documented that black people with the same credentials as their white counterparts were getting denied for loans because of people's racial bias.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? Uh, it's the built-in advantage of fair skin.
mm.
That's what white privilege is. You may not be rich, you may not be poor, you may not be educated, But this is how one of our homeless brothers and sisters put it to me. My white counterparts can get a shave, throw a newspaper under their arm, walk into a hotel, and get the free breakfast. I come in there in a three-piece suit, and they'll be asking me, where your room key at?
Mm.
That's white privilege. White privilege is the power of normalcy. What does that mean? You're a girl dad, right?
Yes, several times over.
You might go into Walmart looking for your baby a black doll. It might be 2 or 3 of them. It's 30 white dolls. It might be 1 or 2 black dolls, if that. They always had flesh-colored Band-Aids for white people. We just now getting Band-Aids that match our socks, that match our skin tone. Um, Representation. This country is roughly 13, 14% black. That's not what the police look like. That's not what politics and mayors and governors look like. White privilege.
Gotcha. Man, we went down to the Band-Aids. I ain't even look at that. What's your thoughts on Trump's statement that now, since being arrested, he is more relatable to the black community?
That's because you're more related to the black community because you got arrested. So you saying get arrested, basically what he's saying.
That's what I took from it.
Exactly. That's some racist ass to say. Some dumb ass, he says dumb shit all the time. It's nothing new. Um People, I don't it shows me how uneducated people really are. This dude just got people memorized, man. Mesmerized, excuse me. Uh and when you talk to people and start breaking that, if you can have a conversation with a MAGA Republican without hooping and hollering and start breaking it down, guaranteed they're gonna be like, huh, that makes sense. Huh, that makes sense. When you start talking about policy and that matters, he's got nothing to say. When you talk about culture war, that's where all is at. The galvanized shit is what is the hype is all about. But yeah, that shit is definitely some racist dumb to say.
Okay. Do you believe that the attempted assassination of Donald Trump was real or staged?
Man, look, to answer that question, when I first seen it, I was like, that shit looked like some wrestling move ass. I don't know. I want to know who's investigating. Can we trust the people who's investigating this? Um, because this is the crazy weird part, right? Trump and the Republicans will be like, we'll defund the FBI. We can't trust the Department of Justice. Woo, 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 woo. And then they'll be like, oh, this happened. We need them to investigate this for us. I'm like, hold up. They just will flip flop. Remember, it was back to blue, and now, oh, Trump is a felon. That's okay, and the government's corrupt. The justice system is corrupt. I'm like, whoa, this is blowing my mind. But to answer your question, I want to know who is investigating it and if we can trust what they got going on. Because it looked a little staged. It looked a little staged. That's just from my
Even with people dying?
okay. Even with people dying, I'm not saying that people didn't die for real. Because something can be staged and people still be truly affected. But with this MAGA cult, and I don't want to sound too conspiracy theory before I say this. So disclaimer, when you play the clip, they're gonna be like, oh, this crazy with the conspiracy theory. But to the MAGA cult, I'm not too far from believing that 3-4 people would give up their life for a state. Okay, look, you're gonna be the shooter. You're gonna have to take a bullet. You might take a bullet. If you sit in this section, you might get shot today. I'm not too far from believing that 10 people wouldn't sign up to sit in that section. Not to say that that's what happened. I guess the point is Trump lies so fucking much. I don't trust him. The boy who cried wolf. When it's finally some real, can we really believe him?
According to that scenario you're speaking on, as far as the boy called Wolf, can you?
I mean, literally, independent, nonpartisan fact checkers check his whatever he says every day, and the mother be lying. So now some shit happened. Can we really believe this mother? We don't know. That's all I'm gonna say about it.
Dig it. In your opinion, is Donald Trump racist?
Mother, for sure. First of all, he's an inherent racist, in my opinion. He's been racist for 50 years. You can go back and find a timeline of his racist actions from the 1970s. Um, in the 70s, he was lying to potential black tenants if he had apartments vacant because he didn't want to rent to black people. The Fair Housing Act, which came into act in the late 60s, the Department of Justice investigated his company to find that he was doing this. He admitted to guilt in court for doing this, not, purposely lying to black potential tenants to not rent to them because he didn't want in his apartments. Then we can go into the 80s when his casinos, he would remove his black employees when high rolling white people would come through. Even himself and his wife, he didn't want no niggas on the floor when he came through. Um, the late 80s was that 90s. The Central Park Five, when he took out a full page ad and said, bring back the death penalty, when we had no evidence that these boys had did anything besides some police statements, which we know the police lie, and hearsay. Saying that all of the Mexicans crossing the borders are from insane asylums and jail, that's not fucking true. That's fucking racist and stereotype. Um, Calling black people nigga on his show, allegedly. He's got a long history of being racist.
Okay. What's a black job?
This is the black job. What we're doing right here. This is a black job. A black job, man. I don't know what a black job is. A job a black person is doing, I guess.
Okay.
So it's a lot of black jobs out here.
Okay.
The presidency is finna be a black job.
Well, since you went there, okay. Kamala Harris.
Kamala, Kamala,
Yeah.
comma like the comma.
Okay.
L.A. Kamala.
With all due respect, is she a black woman?
Most definitely. You don't. She look like she could be your auntie.
If I'm being honest, no, she doesn't. She doesn't. If I'm being honest,
Kamala's definitely a black woman.
according to what?
According to the diaspora, according to society. So society says you got one drop in you historically, right?
Okay.
So now just because white people want to pander to black people, but don't want a black woman to pander to black people, they gonna call her not black. Think about this. Where'd you go to school?
I went to high school.
High school.
I went to high school. I went to Thorough High School in East Point, Georgia.
Okay. Where'd you go to college?
I did.
Okay. So you went to high school, East Point,
Yeah.
ATL.
Mhm.
When them black children went home, they went to home to all different kind of existences, right?
Correct.
You got Muslims, Christians, Hindus, Hebrews, atheists. You got rich, poor, in the middle. You got liberal, conservative, strict. Just because your ethnicity and your lineage and your religion and orientation, whatever you woo to woo when you go home, that don't make you less black. When you get pulled over by the police, you one or two things.
Black or white?
100%.
Correct.
And all of a sudden, she was now this educated woman who probably who grew up with black friends, who grew up with black friends.
Okay.
It's documented. Don't take my word for it. Do your
Of
research.
course.
Um, who went to a black college?
Okay.
Now, granted, Howard is a private HBCU. You gotta have some grades or some cheese to get in there. But if you got some cheese, you can go to other places that
Dig
are
it. Okay, that's a good way to look at it.
that are just as prestigious. And at the time she went to school, she could have got the same scholarships at a University of Tennessee, Alabama, UCLA. Woo. She said she black, she black. And then she said she not black. She said, look, I'm woo. I don't claim none of that black. Then I'd be like, all right, she ain't black. Her mom and dad raised a Hindu. Her family literally from over there somewhere. But she part black. She black.
Well, what I heard, and what people are saying is, isn't her father he identifies Caucasian Jamaican,
Hindu, Jamaican, whatever.
and her isn't her mother Middle Eastern?
Yes.
So
What Jamaican you know ain't black? Them Jamaican is black. She black. Listen. I put it like this: if Kamala tell me she ain't black, she ain't black. Until then, she black.
but what's the difference between pandering to the African Americans by
Now,
saying you are black when
good
she does
question.
it, or when the Caucasian man
Good
does it?
question. Listen, don't get it twisted. I am not here to defend Kamala, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party. I'm of the belief that all politicians are our opposition. So I do also believe that this is part of the game that we're playing. So if we have operatives in the system that are more like-minded and working towards goals that are tangible for us, it's better for us rather than the opposition, the devil just working totally against us. To your point about her, um, some of her actions as a DA, nonviolent crimes, I don't agree with putting people in prison for long periods of time for nonviolent crimes, drug crimes. When Big Pharma gets away with that with a slap on the wrist and a fine. Um, so I'm not a Kamala defender. What I'm saying is, you may think otherwise, but she looked like she could be most of somebody, one of our aunties, one of our older sisters, and the policy that she is coming out with aligns more and would be more helpful to poor middle class Americans than the opposition. That's all I'm saying. I think when it comes to American politics with black people, we need to, moving forward after this election, hoard our vote until somebody makes public policy agenda that they are going to do a couple things for us. One, pursue reparations. Two, pursue and write and put into legislation a hate crime bill for black people. 3, do something about the housing market. 4, uh, do something about wages for all working class people. If you can't do nothing with that, I don't give a about you. Oh, excuse me. And I don't know where this ranks, but 5, police brutality. It's gotta get cut out.
Gotcha. Police brutality. Is there such thing as a good cop?
In my opinion, no. All cops are bad. Um, it's to me, it's like this. Look, I don't think all cops are inherently racist or bad people, or even want to be bad cops. But when you go willingly into a system that you know is used to oppress black and poor people, no matter what changes you think you can make, you're willingly going into a system that is oppressive and upholding the tools of that oppression. Now, if you tell me that a cop goes to work and he only arrests people for violent crimes against people and things that actually hurt people, selling fentanyl and meth and hurting people violently. Now, if you tell me that this officer will not pull anybody over for traffic tickets, harass black people, um, woo, then that's a good cop. But they all doing the same thing. They all incarcerating black people at a, a egregious rate.
Devil's advocate.
Let's go.
Devil's advocate.
Let's go.
You said earlier about representation.
Yes.
So, in order for there to be representation, every walk of life,
Yes.
wouldn't law enforcement fall in that category?
Most definitely. Now, don't get it twisted. I believe we need some type of peace officer system. We don't need law enforcement. Enforcement of laws. Laws written by who? People that don't represent us.
So, but laws can be changed.
Laws can be changed. It's a rigorous,
You've played a role in getting laws changed.
for sure.
You a black man.
Yes, sir. It's a rigorous course to get laws changed. It's possible. But this is what I believe. We need peace officers that are community based. So people like me and you, we ain't gonna be slamming no old black ladies, no pregnant black women. We ain't gonna be stomping out no cheering, and we're not gonna run up on Sonya Massey and her in the head when we just told her to go mess with that pot of water. We're not gonna put a knee on George Floyd's neck for 9 minutes until he. If we had officers from the community that were trained, that some could be armed, some could be unarmed, but people in the community that live there, work there, worship there, et cetera, those be the officers. Legislation, the white man's law, saying that it's not sanctioned for Brother Muhammad and the 10,000 fearless men and women to police their own neighborhoods. They'll get in trouble for policing their own neighborhoods.
I dig it. A buddy of mine said one way to solve racism is in all seriousness, is to solve racism is biracial children. Uh Pretty much if everyone was to start mixing races on purpose, uh that was a form of solving racism.
So I would tell him to ask some biracial black babies some of their experiences with their all-white family members and how tolerance doesn't mean solving. Because I can tolerate these black people doesn't mean I'm not racist against black people. Oh, this half a nigga is my grandson, so I gotta be tolerable of him. That doesn't mean I'm not racist against black people.
Okay.
The only thing that's gonna eradicate racism is anti-racism.
That's my next question. You must be okay. I see what you're doing.
Go ahead, ask the
Elaborate on
question.
that.
Ela-
How, in your opinion, how do we get rid of racism?
the act of anti-racism, doing the exact opposite of racism. Racism segregated black people, redlined and said, hey, niggas can't move here. Racism said, we're gonna not fund schools and give black people proper education. Racism gave police the ammunition and the culture to brutalize us. Racism allowed people to deny people for loans and like that. So anti-racism is doing the exact opposite, giving people fair wages, giving people home loans, business loans, uh, frankly, reparations.
When you say reparations, what do you mean
A,
to the
a
to the
dollar amount of cash money to every black person in America,
okay.
depending on your age, dollar amount.
Okay. At that point, do you,
Depending on your age and how many children you got under the age of 18, dollar amount.
as long as your people are descendants of slaves or in general?
As long as you are black American,
So American African.
American African,
Okay.
black American African, yes.
Dig it. Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt. What were you saying?
I
Thought I
don't
lost it.
remember.
My bad.
Where was I at?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I was listening, but I listen. Don't do me like
Oh,
that.
we were talking about I said how do we fix racism?
That's it.
Anti-racism, the exact opposite of racism. So reparations, black people built this country for free, pay back people, give black people loans, invest in education, especially in the inner city, black high schools, black neighborhoods, black communities, um, give fair wages to black workers, health insurance to black people. That's how we now when people okay, go ahead. Go with your next question.
You sure?
Because first of all, we got to say what is racism. Anybody can be a bigot towards somebody because of their skin color.
How
But
did you?
know what your next question was?
Yeah.
Because I'm on that. Racism,
Hold on. See that camera behind me? I want to ask my
so
question.
ask your question.
I'm gonna ask my question.
Ask your question.
All right, it's my show. I'm gonna ask my question. uh, can black people be considered racist?
No.
Okay, so you need to know my question. All right, go ahead.
Hot take, no. See, listen, everybody can be racist. I can be a bigot to you because of your skin color.
Okay.
Now, what is racism that is really effective? It's racism plus power. So now if you can walk to a bank that I don't own, but I just work there, but I'm racist against and I say, oh, here go a black. And I have all the credentials of my white counterparts, credit score, money in the bank, assets, and you say, no, you're not getting a loan because human variables, human error, if you will, decides racism and how racism affects people. If strategically we say we're going to zone this city a certain way, and these are the schools that we're going to invest in, and the schools that are not invested in are black schools, that's racism plus power, which, and black people in America collectively don't have bigotry plus power. So bigotry plus power is the real racism.
Dig it. So, in essence, what you're saying is black people can't be racist.
Listen, I can say you're a white person and I don't like you and you're ugly and that may hurt your feelings, but it's not going to affect where you go to school, where you live, where you worship, money in your pocket, if you get a job or not, if you get a loan or not. So it doesn't affect you. Yes, it may be hurtful and immoral, but it doesn't affect you after you get over it.
Well, bro, I'm my final question for you.
You ask all three if you want to, man. You ain't got to. Don't rush.
Okay. Does voting matter?
Voting matters hella. Look at this. People think voting doesn't matter because they think politicians, people in power, corporations gonna do what they want to do. It's kind of true, but they only get to do what they want to do because we're not part of the process. Think about this. Roughly, let's call it 12%. Let's call it 20%. Roughly 20% across the country. 20-25% of eligible adult voters, black voters, vote. Now, all my internet motherfucking scholars, fact check me on that number. But roughly 25 or lower percent of black eligible voters vote, right? That means we live in 75-80% on the table. And so if we're not involved, and now I'm not just talking about the president and the senators, and I'm talking about locally. Here locally, now I know the numbers here locally. Roughly 11-12% of eligible black voters are voting. That means 88% of us is not even having a say of what is going on. So now, if we flip that around and had 88, 80% of people voting, they would respect them. You can only pander to a people because you need them only at a certain time. If I always need you, if you're always part of the equation, I got to think about you all the time. White people, black people, Republicans, Democrats, independent, they pander to black people because they only see us as value when they think, okay, if I can get them to vote, I might have a chance to win. If we were always part of the process, then we will always be part of the process. Voting is not the end all be all to liberation. Our ancestors, when people say, them old died so you can vote. No, our ancestors did not die for us to vote. They died for liberation. They felt that voting was a tangible tool to get closer to liberation quickly. And I still believe I'm a hopeless romantic. I'm a cautious optimist. I still believe that done right, the Constitution and democracy can be a winner. But you can't. Old used to say, if you ain't in the game, you can't win, right? So how are we gonna say it don't matter if you didn't try in the first place? How many? Now you asked me about would I ever run earlier, right?
Right.
Now let's say I decide to run, and let's say 90% of Chattanooga, black Chattanooga, voted me for mayor. I would be the fucking mayor. And when you had a problem, or somebody in East Chat, South Chat, West Chat, West Side, North Chat, Brainerd, Tanner, Delaware, when you had a problem, you could go see a person like me, a person like Marie Mott, and sit down and talk sense to me, representation, and I could say, okay, I see how that's a problem. this is what I can do to help that. But we don't got nobody looking like that because we're not out there part of the process. So I could go on and on, but yes, voting matters a hell of a bunch. You know what I'm saying? They never thought I'd be president, no matter how you feel about Barack and other black elected officials. Uh, they wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the black vote.
Take it. Well, bro, what's next for you?
Man, what's next for me? Family first. Man, I'm building my family, strengthening my family. Shout out to my spouse, love of my life. Um, she's an amazing woman. Shout out to my children. I wanna lock down for them so they can have an easier road than I had. Professionally, I've been blessed to go around the country speaking, talking this. I want to do more of that. So if you see this and you want to book me for your pod, you got some good questions, holla at me. Um, always gonna advocate for access and resources in my community. Always gonna be creative, man. New music coming. I know everybody discovered me and fell in love with me as a musician, and that ain't never going nowhere. Um, the podcast is back in circulation, dropping new episodes at the People's Podcast with C-Grimey, Hip Hop for Humanity CHA channel is how you can find that. That's gonna be dope, revamping that. Hopefully get some help from the C&P-Network with the visuals. Yeah, man. And just try to cultivate the next generation. It needs to be 10 C-Grimeys coming up behind me. I'm in my 30s. We need a teenage year old C-Grimey, a 20-year-old C-Grimey, and several in that age range. You know, doing stuff for the community, making noise, speaking that peace and black power, so that we can elevate the black community. Man, our ancestors worked very hard, and we got to continue to hold that torch. We getting a little lazy with it, um, but it ain't, in the words of the later great American poet Pimp C, it ain't never too late to stop being a.
Straight like that. Um, straight like that. Uh, tell everybody where they can find you, bro.
Across all platforms, social media platforms, C Grimey 423 CGRIMEY 42 Triller. Um, look up the music, C Grimey C-GRIMEY, all platforms. To get the podcast, look up the Hip Hop for Humanity, CHA. Um, yeah, People's Podcast with C Grimey. It's a fucking hit. It's pretty dope. Yeah, and then find me everywhere. I'm everywhere like oxygen, man, all at once.
Dig it. And look, straight like that. C-Grimey, Brody, you officially been verified
Verified, man.
by
C&P Network,
myself,
man.
Cornell the Shooter, on the C&P Network. If you ain't got anything else, bro, we gonna get up out of here.
Man, I do got something else.
What you
Look,
got?
black men, we got to be the change we want to see. Stop talking about it. Stop talking to it. Stop talking down. Speak up to people. Bring people up. And everything that you say need to happen, do it. Do something. I'm challenging every black man out there specifically. 1 hour a week of voluntary service to your community, whatever that looks like for you. Mentoring somebody, tutoring, teaching somebody how to hoop, somebody how to do clothes, somebody how to draw, listening to somebody, big brothers, big sister type vibe, uh, working with the elders, working with the babies, community service, whatever that look like. Black men, 1 hour a week. That's how we're gonna liberate.
Dig it. C-Grimey, appreciate it, bro.
And legalize weed in Tennessee, man.
Hey, we out.